afternoon to all. I would like to welcome all the participants to this online session dedicated to Semester 6 Computer Science students. Today's topic is Greedy Strategy, the fifth module of Design and Analysis of Algorithm. And we have Dr. Anand Harindran for handling our session. Dr. Anand is working as an associate professor and HOD in Computer Science and Engineering Department at Muthoot Institute of Technology and Science. He holds his PhD in Algorithm and Optimization. The author of 2 internationally acclaimed books on artificial intelligence and machine learning and research methodology. We're extremely glad to have Dr. Anand for this session. On behalf of ASAP and ASDC division, I welcome you, sir, to deliver today's class. And on this note, I would like to welcome all the attendees to the session. Let me conclude this introductory part by giving the outline of today's class. The entire 1-hour session will be divided into 2 sessions. Each session has 20 minutes of lecture and 10 minutes of question-answer interaction respectively. And during the interaction time, students may use question-answer chat window by raising their hand option near to your name. And all the students are requested to maintain a classroom decorum throughout the session. Anand sir will be available online throughout the entire 1 hour. Sir, you may please start the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepthi. So good afternoon all and welcome to the next session on greedy strategy. Before going to greedy strategy, there are some important terms that we need to know. So we will start with that. Okay. So consider there is a problem of travel. Okay, I need to travel from Ernakulam to Trivandrum. So when I think about travel, there are a lot of options available. I can either go in a bus or in a car, a train, or even in an airplane. Okay. So I had a problem of traveling from Ernakulam to Trivandrum, and I got some solutions. Say 4 solutions I have got: a bus, car, train, and aeroplane. Now I am including a constraint or a condition saying that I need to reach the destination in 4 hours. So thinking about the 4 hours, thinking about the constraint, now I need to filter my solutions. In bus, it may take up to 6 hours. In car, if I go, it may take up to 5 hours. In train, maybe in 4 hours I will be reaching. Or in aeroplane, under 1 hour I will be reaching. So from the set of solution, now I have filtered the solution, and now I have come up with two solutions. This 2 solution is termed as the feasible solution. Okay, so I had a problem. The problem had, say, n number of solutions. Among the n number of solutions, those solutions that satisfy a particular condition is called as the feasible solution. Okay, so along with the condition, I am giving one more particular constraint saying that I need to reach Trivandrum in minimum cost. When we think about the cost constraint also, I think comparing train and aeroplane, train will be more cost effective. So from the feasible solution set, I am getting one solution which is of minimum cost, and that is called as the optimal solution. Okay, I had a problem, I had n number of solutions. From the n number of solutions, I got feasible solution, and in the feasible solution, now I have got something called an optimal solution, which is in the minimum cost. So there are some things that we need to summarize. A problem can have many solutions and multiple feasible solutions, but there will be only one solution with optimum value. So consider the condition here, we needed to reach in 4 hours in minimum cost, which means that this is a minimization problem. That is, I have minimized the particular strategy of particular condition. So as we talk about the minimization problem, there can be problems of maximization also. Okay, I have some particular items with me, I need to sell them. Okay, I will be selling by checking what is the maximum profit which I can make. So such type of problems are called maximization problems. This minimization problems and maximization problems comes under a general heading called as optimization. Okay, so optimization means it's a particular strategy of finding minimum or a maximum solution for a particular problem. Okay, so this is the concept of optimization. Now coming to greedy method. Greedy is an approach or a problem solving method which is used to solve optimization problems. So you know what is optimization. Optimization problems can be either maximization problem or minimization problem. So greedy strategy is one such approach to solve those optimization problems. How the greedy algorithm works. Greedy algorithm always take a choice that seems to be the best at that particular moment. Okay, for that particular moment, I felt like train was the most easiest solution, so I took that particular solution. And if the solution was big, what I do is first solution will be the best one, which I think at that particular moment. After that, I will be thinking from that particular position, I have another best solution. So I will be taking all those solutions, and finally, in a basic concept that all these local optimal solutions will lead to a global optimum solution. So this is the basic concept of greedy strategy. So it's an optimization problem solving technique, and it works in the way like the best choice taken for that particular moment is taken into consideration and the final solution is built. So this is the greedy strategy. Now coming to the control abstraction. So as we told that how the greedy strategy works, we can see about the control abstraction. So here you can see that there are three different terms. First one is select, second one is a feasible, and a union. So these are the functions that we are using in the control abstraction of greedy. So first I am having no solution, which means solution is a null set. So from the set of inputs in A, I will be taking one input. Okay, I am taking one input and I will be checking whether that particular solution is a feasible one. If that particular solution is a feasible solution, then I will be including that solution into my global set, which means that initially the solution was 0, right? So um, I got a local optimum solution that is added to the solution. This process is repeated until all the items are being visited or all the solutions are visited. Okay, so this is the basic control abstraction of greedy algorithm. Consider an example. Okay, you need to buy a phone. There are various options. You can go for an Android phone or you can go for an iOS phone. And there are various features you will be looking for. You will be checking what is the processor, what is the spec of the camera, what is the memory capacity, and what is the display size. So all these are some constraints or conditions that you are keeping in order to get the best phone. Okay, so considering all these options, finally tell me that you come up with a final solution saying that you need to buy an say Oppo phone. So that is the best phone by thinking all the different functions. So is that phone the best phone? Okay, it may or may not be, but according to the conditions that you have given, that is the best phone available. Okay, so the conditions vary from person to person. So according to the conditions you are given, that is the best phone available. So that is the way how a greedy method or greedy strategy works. Okay, so now we are moving to the first problem called knapsack problem. Consider that you are a robber. You are going to rob a house. When you got into the house, you have seen a lot of gold biscuit, you have seen currency notes, you have seen mobile phones, you have seen laptops, everything there was there in the house. But there was a small problem. You are carrying only a small bag. Okay, a bag which will be able to hold only 3 kilograms. So, as a robber, what all things will you select from that house so that when you sell all these objects, you get the maximum profit? Okay, so here I am a robber looking for a maximum profit. So it is a optimization problem because it is a maximization problem. As it is a maximization problem, it can be solved using greedy strategy. Okay, so let's see how greedy approach can be basically applied in order to solve the knapsack problem. Okay, so consider a basic example. I am having three objects, x1, x2, and x3. The profit of all these x1, x2, x3 is 25, 24, and 15. And the weight of these objects x1, x2, x3 is 18, 15, and 10. So now I am a robber. I am now inside a house. Inside a house, I have seen three objects: x1, x2, and x3. And with the profit 25, 24, 15, and weight 18, 15, and 10. So how will I pick the object so that I get the maximum profit? So in a normal condition, I will think that I will be taking items which gives me maximum profit. Okay, so the decreasing order of the profit, which means the item which is giving me maximum profit will be taken first. So what is the item that is giving you the maximum profit among the x1, x2, x3? You can see that x1 is giving the maximum profit of 25, right? So as a robber, I will be, or as a person who needs to do the maximization problem, I will be taking which item first? 25, that x1 item. So initially I'm also given the bag size. So bag size is 20, so my bag will be containing only 28. So initially the bag weight is 0, the remaining weight is 20. So I am taking the item with the maximum profit. So the maximum profit is x1, so I am taking x1. So if I am taking x1, what is the weight of x1? Weight of x1 is 18, right? So what is the total weight of the bag? 20. So I can take the whole item. So I am taking the 18 as such. So the remaining weight is 2. Okay. So now I am having some more space in my bag. So I need to take one more item. So I will be looking which item gives the next maximum profit. So the next maximum profit is 24 for the object x2. So I can take x2. But can I take the full x2? No. Why? Because the full x2 have 15 weight, but my bag is only having two more spaces available. So what can you do? You have to split the particular object. Okay. So you had 15 weight, you can take only 2. So you will be splitting the object into 2 by 5. From the 15, you will be taking only 2 portions. So now your bag is completely full. Okay. So now I am going to find out how much profit did I make. By taking x1, what is the profit I got? By taking x1, 25, plus by taking x2, what is the profit I got? 24. But is it full? No. So it is 2 by 15 into 24. Okay, so that is the profit. 25 plus 2 by 15 into 24. So if I take x1 and a portion of x2, the maximum profit that I can make is 28.2. Okay, so this is how the decreasing order of profit works. Okay, so I am taking a fraction of a item. So this type of problems are called fractional knapsack problems. Okay, so other than the decreasing order of profit, is there any other way which I can select the items? Yes, there is many other ways. I am thinking like if I take more items, I can get more profit, which means that I am thinking to fill the particular sack with less the items with less weight. So which is the items with less weight? x3 is having the least weight of 10. So in the back, I am first taking x3. So whenever I am taking x3, the weight is 10. And the remaining, I am having 10 more spaces. Now I will be checking which item is having next lesser weight. So next lesser weight is for x2, weight is 15. So can I take all the 15? No. Why? Only I am having balance 10. So I will be taking 10 by 15. So now the entire bag is filled. If I take the items in this order, what is the maximum profit that I can make? X3 is having a profit of 15 plus X2 is having a profit of 24. So 15 plus 10 by 15 into 24, that is 31. See, when I took in the decreasing order of the profit, the only profit I got was 28.2. But when I took lowest weight first, I got a profit of 31. So this method is more interesting or more financially beneficial, right? So is there any other method? Yes, there is one more method. So that is called decreasing order of profit by weight. Okay. Here what I am going to do is I am going to check per weight which is having the maximum profit. So for x1, I am dividing the profit by weight. So 25 by 80. That is one portion of x1 gives me 1.38 profit. Similarly, x2 and x3, x2 gives 1.6 profit and 1.5 profit for x3 for one portion. So now I will be taking item which is giving me more profit per weight for a single item. So which is the item which I will be choosing first? X2, right? Because x2 is having more profit by weight, 1.6. So I will be taking x2 first. Can I take entire x2? Yes, entire x2 you can take because the weight is only 15. you have a remaining 5 also. So for the remaining 5, which one will you select as X1 or X3? You will be selecting X3. Why? Because that is having the maximum profit by weight. So you are taking X3 next. Can you take the entire X3? No. Why? Because I am having only 5 space remaining. So I will be taking 5 by 10. So now my bag is full. So I'm again checking what is the profit which I got in this procedure. So X2 is having the maximum profit. X2 is having the profit of 24 and X3 is having the profit of 15. That is 5 by 10 into 50. See what is the profit I got? Profit I got is 31.5, which is the maximum profit when compared to lowest weight first or decreasing order of profit. So this is the best strategy that you can solve whenever you are having a knapsack problem for a maximization. So whenever you are having knapsack problem to solve, this is the way that you are going to solve using decreasing order of profit by weight. Okay, so now we have compared all the 3 strategies and we understood that profit by weight is having the best strategy. So let me see an example problem also to how we will be doing this particular. Consider that I am having 7 objects with profit 10, 5, 15, 7, 6, 18 and 3 and with the corresponding weight. And the sack capacity is given as 15. Okay, so what should we do first? We have to do profit by weight. So I am taking profit by weight 10 by 2, 5 by 3, 15 by 5, 7 by 7, 6 by 1, 18 by 4 and 3 by 1. So you got the profit by weight. So we have told we are going for which strategy? Decreasing order of profit by weight. In the decreasing order of profit by weight, what should you do? You have to select that item which is having the maximum profit. Which is having the maximum profit? Object 5 is having the maximum profit, right? 6. So you will be taking the object 5 first. When you take the object 5, what is the weight? Weight is only 1. So bag weight is 1 and remaining I am having 14 spaces. So what should I do next? I will be going for the next item which is having the maximum profit. So after 6, which is having the maximum profit? Object 1 is having the maximum profit, that is 5. So I am taking the object 1. So I am taking X1 and the weight is 2. So the total weight becomes 1 plus 2, that is 3. And the bag weight, remaining weight is 12. Okay. So again, I am going for the item with the maximum profit next to 5. Next to 5, I am having 4.5. That is object 6. I am taking object 6 with the weight is 4. So 4 plus 3, the total weight is 7 and the remaining weight is 8 in the back. 8 space is remaining. So next I am going for the next item with the maximum profit, that is 3. So I am taking the object 3 over there. So when I take 3, the weight is 5. So 7 plus 5, that is 12 and I am having 3 space remaining. Again I am checking whether what is the profit next. So I am having again 3 with weight 1, that's for object 7. So I am taking X7 and only weight is 1. So 12 has been increased to 13 and the space has been reduced from 3 to 2. What is the next profit available? That is 1.66 for the object 2. What is the weight of the object 3? So if you take the object 2 as such, the bag will not be able to hold because I am having only 2 space left. So what should you do? You have to split the object. How will you split? 2 by 3. And 2 by 3, which means that entire bag is full. Now you have to find out what is the profit. Profit will be what? The profit of X1 plus X2, X5 plus X1, X6, X3, X7 plus 2 by 3 of X2. So that is the profit. So which is equal to 6 plus 10 plus 18 plus 15 plus 3 plus 2 by 3 of 5, which means profit is 55.3. This is how you solve a fractional knapsack problem. The major criteria that you have to check is you can either you are taking the half of it or you can take a portion of a particular object. This is how you do the fractional knapsack problem. So we can see what is the basic algorithm and complexity of the particular procedure. So this is the greedy knapsack. So first, what about the first step? I am computing the profit by weight. So for I equal to 1 to n, I have to compute the PI by WI. That's the profit per weight. Then what I did the sort the object in the non-ascending order because I am taking in the non-ascending order, right? The one which is having the highest profit by weight. And from then I am going for a for loop. In the for loop, what I am doing, I am checking whether I am having any space in the particular bag, and also I am checking whether the item that I am taking fits in the bag fully. Okay, if it is possible, I am decreasing the weight of the bag with the weight of the item I have selected and increasing the profit by the profit of the item. Okay, what happens if the bag weight is more than 0, but the item cannot be completely fitted into the bag? You have to split. So that is the if condition. You have to split accordingly M by Wi, and the profit is added. So looking at the complexity, you can see that for the first for loop, the particular loop execute in order of n times, because from I am having 1 to n items. And for sorting, I am using merge sort, which is giving the best complexity of n log n. And the for loop works in order of n. And I'm having the particular weight updation, which is in the constant time. So what is the total time complexity? Total time complexity will be the summation of all of this, which comes into order of n log n. Clear? So this is the first session of knapsack problem. So as until now we have seen what is the greedy approach, what is the control abstraction of greedy approach, and the first problem of fractional knapsack. So fractional knapsack, you have to take in profit by weight formula, and you have got through the final algorithm and the complexity. Okay, fine. So next session is on the spanning trees. Okay, so what is a spanning tree? Spanning tree is actually a subset of a graph. Okay, and the subset should cover all the vertices and the minimum possible edges to connect these vertices. Okay. Also, the spanning trees will not have cycles in it. Consider the graph given here. I have a triangle ABC. So I'm having how many vertices? 3 vertices. So I need to have spanning tree, minimum spanning tree, which means that I need to have graphs with 3 vertices, but n minus 1 edges. So how many vertices I am having? I have to minus 1. So these are the various possibilities of spanning trees. Okay, there are some properties that a spanning tree should have. A connected graph can have more than one spanning tree. The all possible spanning trees of the graph have same number of edges and vertices. Then the spanning tree should not contain any loops. The spanning tree has n minus 1 edges, where the n is the number of vertices. And the next one is the important portion. The graph can have EC v minus 1 minus number of cycles spanning trees. So for say competitive exam, you will be given a graph or you'll be given a condition and asked how many spanning tree does this particular graph have. So in such cases, you have to use this particular problem. I will show you how to find it. And a complete graph will be having a maximum of n power n minus 2 number of spanning trees. Okay. So coming to an example, consider this an example. So what is the total number of spanning trees possible? I told that E CV minus 1 minus number of cycles. What is E? E is the number of edges. How many edges are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 edges. V minus 1 means number of vertices minus 1. That is 4 vertices minus 1 is 3. So 5C3 minus number of cycles. How many cycles? 1, 4, 2 becomes 1 cycle. 4, 2, 3 is another cycle. So number of cycles is 2. So how many number of spanning trees are possible? It will be 5C3 minus 2. That many number of spanning trees are possible. So I am drawing one random spanning tree. So this is a spanning tree. Why? Because all the vertices are there, and that is being connected, and there is no. So this is a spanning tree. What is the cost of the spanning tree? That is the weight. That is 6 plus 3 plus 5. That is 40. I am drawing at another spanning tree. 1, 4, 3, 2. So what is the cost here? 4 plus 6 plus 3, that is 30. I can have another spanning tree like this also. So spanning tree means all the vertices should be there and that should be connected and there should be no loops. So what is the cost involved here? 4 plus 2 plus 3, that is 9. So the cost differs, right? So how do you find a minimum cost spanning tree? You are given a graph and you are asked to find what is the minimum cost of the spanning tree. So there are ECV minus 1 minus number of cycle spanning trees possible. Is it always possible to draw all the spanning trees and check what is the minimum cost? No. So hence we are having a basic solution for this, for finding the minimum cost spanning tree. So minimum cost spanning tree is a spanning tree which is having the cost factor as the minimum. So the two most important spanning tree algorithms are Prim's algorithm and Kruskal's algorithm. So we are going to check how the Prim's algorithm works or the Kruskal's algorithm works. So I will be showing from a given graph how you can find the minimal spanning tree, and then I will be explaining the algorithm, and I will be going for a walkthrough on the code, and will be showing how the particular minimal spanning tree is created directly from the algorithm. So that is the and we will be looking for the complexity. So those are the things that we are going to look. So let's start with Prim's algorithm. Consider this is a graph, and I need to find the minimum spanning tree of the minimum cost spanning tree from this particular graph. What is minimum cost spanning tree? All the vertices should be connected. There should be no loops or no cycles, and the cost part should be minimum. Okay. So Prim's algorithm says that you have to select the minimum cost edge first. So first I need to select the minimum cost edge. Which among the from the graph, which is the minimum cost edge? I'm having edges of 25, 24, 14, 28, 10, 16, 18, 12, and 22. The minimum edge is 10, right? That is 0 and 5 is being connected by 10. So that is the minimum edge. So I am selecting the minimum edge. And the second step says that onwards to, that is coming also, you have to select a minimum cost edge. Okay. So which is the minimum cost edge? 12. Okay. But do we select that? So I'm going back to the step 2. Onwards to select a minimum cost edge which is connected to the already selected vertices. Okay. Already I am having two vertices, 0 and 5. So to 0 and 5, which all vertices are connected, among them I need to take the lowest one. So I will not take 12, I will be taking 25, which connects 5 and 4 and 0 and 1. So these two edges are the edges which is connected to the already selected edges. So among 25, that is from 5 to 4, and 28 from 0 to 1, which is lowest, 5 to 4 is lowest with 25. So what will I do? I'll be taking that edge. So 5 to 4 is wrong. Again, I will be selecting the minimum cost edge which is connected to the already selected vertices. Okay. So again, I am having 0, 5 and 4 are the vertices now. I need to check which all are the edges which is directly connected. So to 4, 5 and 0, these are the edges which is already connected. So among this, which one is the lowest value? 4, 3 is the lowest one, which 22. Okay. So I am going for 22 and drawing 4 to 3. Again, from the already selected vertex, which one is the lowest? I have 4 to 6 with 24, 3 to 6 with 18, 3 to 2 with 12, and 1 to 0 with 28. So which one is the lowest? 3 to 2. 12 is the lowest. So I am drawing that particular graph. Okay. Again, the process continues. From the selected graph, which one is the smallest one? So 28, 24, 18 and 16. 16 is the lowest one. So I am taking that particular edge and joining that 2 to 1. That is 16. Okay. Again, to the selected or the connected graph, which all are the edges. So I am having one connected to 28, 6. All these graphs are there. So which one is the lowest one? I'm selecting 14. So 14 means 1 to 6. So I'm giving 14. So now all the vertex has been covered, right? So this is a minimum cost spanning tree. What is this minimum cost spanning tree? All the vertices should be connected and there should be no. So here all the vertices are connected and there is no. So this is a minimum spanning tree according to Prim's algorithm. So what is the cost involved? So cost will be 10 plus 25 plus 22 plus 12 plus 16 plus 14, which gives 99. Okay, so what was the strategy that we used? We selected a minimum cost edge. Okay, then we selected a minimum cost edge which is connected to the already selected vertices. That is the point that you have to basically keep in mind. The already selected vertex you have taken, and you need to do this until all the vertices are covered. So when all the vertices are covered, you can go for check out for the cost, and that will be 90. So this is how the Prim's algorithm works. For the examination, if it is asked to draw the minimum cost spanning tree directly from a graph given below, so you can directly draw like this, but make sure that whether the algorithm is also asked. If the algorithm is also asked, you have to write the algorithm, then go for the uh, corresponding way to solve the problem. So now let's see how this can be solved using the algorithm. So this is the algorithm for minimum spanning tree using prints. Okay, so the algorithm seems to be a bit big, but the only process that we have done so far is being written over here. So let's see what is the process. So first check the first 5 lines. First line says that for each vertex in the graph, you have to set the key to infinity and the parent of each vertex to be nil and the key of R is the starting vertex, to be 0 and push all the vertex into a queue. So see the table given in the side. You are having all the vertex in the queue. The key value of everything is set to infinity other than the starting node, and the parent of everything is set to nil. Okay, so these are the 5 things that I will told in the algorithm. So for all the vertex, the key is set to infinity, parent is set to nil, the key value of the starting vertex is set to 0, and everything is in the queue. Clear? So that is what the first 5 steps say. What is the next step say? While q not equal to null set. Okay, when the q not equal to null set, you have to do some process. Is the q null set? No, because it is having vertex 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if the when the q is not equal to null set, what you should do? You have to extract minimum from the q. Which vertex is having the minimum key value that need to be extracted? Extracted means what? You have to dequeue. You have to take out from the queue. So which key value is having the least value? Vertex 0, because all other things are having infinity, right? So vertex 0 is having the key value minimum. So I am extracting u equal to 0. So now what you is told, you have to, for each v in adjacent of u. So I am selected the vertex 0. So which are the adjacent vertexes? Adjacent vertexes are which one? 5 and 1. Those highlighted in the graph. Okay. What you should do? You have to check whether 5 and 1 is in the queue, and also you have to check the cost is less than the key value currently available. So if you check that 1 and 5 is already there in the queue, yes, that is a true statement. And the weight of reaching 1 and 5 is from 0 it is 28 and from 0 to 5 is 10. And it is less than infinity, yes. Then what should you do? Then you have to replace the infinity with the current value, that is 10 and 28. And you have to give the parent of v as u, which means that 1's parent and 5's parent will be 0. So I need to replace the key value of 1 to what? 28 and the parent to 0. Correspondingly, the distance to reach 5 as 10 and the parent to be 0. I hope it is clear. Okay, so I am replacing with that value. So it is 28 0 and 10 0. Okay, so we are checking whether go to the sixth step, whether q is null set. Whether the q is null set? No. Because why? Because I have extracted only one vertex from. So now what should you do? You have to extract the next minimum vertex. Next minimum vertex having the least key. Least key value is for which one? Vertex 5, right? With the key value 10. So what should you do? For the vertex, what should you do? You have to take the adjacent of 5. What are the adjacent values of 5? 0 and 4. Okay, so now what should you do? You have to check whether 0 and 4 is in the queue, but 0 is not there in the queue. Okay, so what should I do? I am neglecting 0. I am going with 4. So for the 4, what you should do? You have to check whether the key value to reach 4 from 5 is less. Okay, if so, you have to replace. Now it is infinity. Now you can reach 4 from 5 with a distance of 25. So 25 goes in place there. And what will be the parent? Parent will be 5. So then infinity and nil will be replaced by 25 and 5. Okay, again we are coming to the step 4, whether the queue is empty. Queue is not empty. So what should I do? Again extract the minimum from the queue, which is having the minimum 28, 25. So 25 is having the minimum, that is the 4th vertex. What should I do? I am checking for the adjacent elements of 4. I have 5, 6 and 3. 5 is not there in the queue, so I need to go for 6 and 3. I need to update the weight of reaching 6 and update the weight of reaching 3 and the parents. So what is the new one to reach 3? That will be 22. And what is the parent of 3? It will be 4. Similarly, what is the distance to reach 6? It will be 24 and the parent will be 4. So it will be replaced by 22, 4 and 24, 4. 22, 4 and 24. Okay. So again, what happened? We go into the sixth step, whether the queue is empty. No, the queue is not empty. I have 1, 2, 3 and 6 available. So extract the minimum from that, which is the minimum value. The minimum value is 22 of the vertex 3. I have to take all the adjacent items of 3. Okay, I have to take all the adjacent item of 3. So that is which are 4, 6 and 2. Whether 4, 6 and 2 in the queue, 4 is not in the queue. So I need to check only 6 and 2. Now I need to update the weight to reach 6 and update the weight to reach 2. Okay, also I need to update the parent. So to reach 2, the weight will be 12 and the parent will be 3. And to reach 6, the distance will be 18 and it will be 3. So it is 12, 3 and 18. 12, 3 and 18. Whether the queue is empty? No. What? Extract the minimum. The minimum is 12, that is second vertex. You are taking the second vertex for all adjacent vertex of 2, that is 1 and 3. You are checking whether 1 and 3 is in the queue. 3 is not there in the queue, so I am leaving 3 as such. I am taking only 1. Distance to reach 1. Already the distance to reach 1 is given as 28, but from 2 I can reach in 16. So you can replace 28 by 16 and the parent to 1 will be which one? 2. So 28 and 0 will be replaced by 16 and 2. Okay, so again I am going and checking whether the queue is empty. Queue is not empty, extracting the minimum value. So now the minimum value is 16. So from the 16 I will be checking, that is from the one which are the adjacent nodes 0, 6 and 2. So which all are now available? 6 is only available, 0 and 2 is not there in the queue anymore. So what is the value to reach 6 from 1? So I am having 14 over there. The current value is 18 and 3. So it can be replaced by 14 and 1. Okay. So again going to the queue is not empty. I am having 6 over there. I am taking the minimum, that is 6 vertex with key value 14. And I am checking the adjacent of 6, 1, 4, 3. So none of them is in the queue. So the process ends here and the queue is empty. So the Prim's algorithm stops here. So what is the output of this? That particular table is what we got. How do you find the minimum cost spanning tree from that table? Check the table. This is the table that we got. We started from which vertex? 0, right? So you can draw the 0 vertex and you have to check whose parent is 0. See, fifth vertex parent is 0, which means that 0 and 5 is connected. Okay, now you have to check who is having 5 as the parent, who is having 4 is having, which means 5 and 4 is connected. Again, we will be checking who is having 4 as the parent, 3 is having the parent. So 4 and 3 will be connected. So who is having 3 as the parent? 2. So 2 is connected to 1 and 1 is connected to 6. So we got the minimum spanning. And what is the total cost? 10 plus 25 plus 22 plus 12 plus 16 plus 40, which is 99. This is the same cost that we got when we draw from directly from the graph. Okay. So in examination, if the question is asked for say 3 marks or something, you can directly write the algorithm and draw the final graph. So if it is a 8-mark question, you have to write the algorithm, write each step in detail and finally come up with the final graph. Okay, so now you know how to construct a minimum spanning tree directly from the graph and using the algorithm. Okay, so let's see what is the complexity. The first 5 thing comes in the for loop. So this actually executes in v times. Okay, number of vertices. So this is the complexity of order of v. The extract minimum and the while loop. Actually, the extract minimum is having order of log v and the while loop is executing v times. So that will be having order of v log v times. Now I have one more for loop available. That for loop executes 2e times. That is, the length of the adjacencies list is 2e for an undirected. So it need to execute 2e times. So the 9 will be executing order of log v times. So what is the total complexity? I need to add the complexities, all the complexities. This is order of e log v. This is the total time complexity of Prim's algorithm. You just go back the slide and understand how we got order of e log. You will be taking first 5, then you will be looking for while loop and extract minimum, then how many times the for loop works, and the 9, 10, and 11 statements. So that is the total complexity of Prim's algorithm. Okay. So now let's see how a Kruskal's algorithm. In the Prim's algorithm, what was the step? Take the minimum edge, right? So Kruskal is also saying that you have to take the minimum cost edge. Fine. What is the minimum cost edge? 0 to 5 with 10. Okay. What was the second step that Prim's told? Prim's told that you have to take the next minimum edge, which is connected to the vertex. So next minimum edge was 12, but we didn't take for Prim's because 3 and 2 was not connected to 0 and 5. Okay, so we went for 0 and 1 with 28 and 5 and 4 with 25, and we selected 25 in case of Prim's. But in case of Kruskal, it is saying that you can continue the minimum cost. Okay, so what is the minimum cost next one? 2, 3. So I can take 2, 3. But there is a appending to the step 2. If the selected edge forms a loop, skip the edge and move to this. We will come to that. Okay. So after 10 and 12, which is the minimum edge? That is 40, right? 196. So I am drawing 196. Which is the next minimum? 192. So 192 is being selected. Next minimum edge is 18. So 6 and 3. See the step 2. If the selected edge forms a loop. See, whenever I connected 6 and 3, it is a loop, right? It is whenever it is forming a loop, skip the edge and move to the next. We are not including that. We are moving to the next minimum. So that will not be taken. What is the next one? 22. So 3 and 4, 22 is connected. Next one is 24, 4 and 6. So when 4 and 6 is connected, what happens? Again, it forms a loop. So what should we do? We have to skip the particular edge and move to the next one. So we are moving to the next one. So next one is 25, that is 5 and 4. See, now all the vertices are connected. Yes, now it is a minimum spanning tree. So all the vertices are there and everything is being connected and there is no. So this is a minimum spanning tree. What is the cost? 10 plus 25 plus 22 plus 12 plus 16 plus 40, which is 99, which is the same that we got when we applied Prim's algorithm also. So Prim's algorithm or Kruskal's algorithm both work in the similar manner in order to find the minimum cost spanning tree. Okay, so what is the difference between Prim's and Kruskal? Prim say that you have to select the edge which is directly connected to the selected vertex, but Kruskal say that even though the two edges are not connected, you can take that particular edge, but whenever it is forming a loop, you have to skip and move to the next one. So whatever be the process, you are getting the same minimum answer. So do you remember the first slide? There may be lot of feasible solution, but there will be only one optimal solution. So either in Kruskal or either in Prim's, you are getting the optimal solution of 99. Clear? So this is how Kruskal's algorithm works. So let me show you how the particular algorithm is. So in the module 2, you have basically studied about disjoint sets. The Kruskal's algorithm here I am mentioning actually works according to the disjoint sets. Okay, the disjoint sets you have already learned in module 2. Okay, so what is a disjoint set and how Kruskal algorithm works? So this is the basic Kruskal algorithm. The algorithm says that A is the final answer. We are returning A, which means that final answer is stored in A. So the algorithm starts like this. You have to initialize A to a null set. So this is the same figure that we are using. So first step is initializing the final answer. So A is a null set. I am initializing A as a set. Then what does second step say? For each V in V, make set. Okay, so how many vertices are there? I'm having 7 vertices. So you have to make 7 different sets. So each vertex will be now considering as separate sets. Okay, so I am drawing 7 different sets. Okay, each set is having the vertex. Okay, next is sort E in ascending order of the weight for each edge. So how many edges are there? I have 0 to 5, 0 to 1, 1 to 2. So all the edges having weight also. I have to sort the edge according to the weight. So which one comes first? 0 to 5 comes first, 2 to 3 comes second, 1 to 6 third. So likewise I have sorted everything. Okay, so these steps are clear, right? So first I have initialized A as a null set. I have made the number of vertices as number of sets, and now I have increasing order of the vertex edge. I have sorted it. Now next, what is I am having? I need to check the find set. So when what do you mean by find set of v1 and find set of v2? Which means that whenever I am considering an edge, I will be checking whether the source and destination belongs to the same set. Okay, now each vertex is having separate sets, right? So whenever each one is in separate, what we should do? You have to A equal to A union v1 minus v2. For the solution, in the solution we have to add that particular edge, and you have to make union of v1 and v2, which means that that particular two vertex will becomes a single set. I will be showing the example. So consider the first edge. First edge is 0 to 5 with the weight as 10. Is 0 and 5 in the same set? No, 0 is a separate set, 5 is a separate set. So if it is separate set, what we should do? We should add that particular edge 0, 5 in A, and you have to make the union of V1 and V2, which means that 0 and 5 will become a single set. See, 0 and 5 becomes a single set. And what should I do? I need to write 0 and 5 in the resultant A. I am writing 0 and 5 in the resultant A. Okay, I'm telling once again, you are taking a particular edge and you are checking whether that source and destination is in the same set. If not, you have to put it into a same set by union and write that particular thing into A. Okay, now I am going to the next one, 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are in two different sets. So what should I do? I need to combine 2 and 3 and write 2 and 3 in A. Writing 2 and 3 in A. Going to the next step, 1 and 6. 1 and 6 are in two different sets. So I am combining 1 and 6 and writing 1 and 6 in A. Okay. Going to the next, 1 and 2. So 1 and 2 are in two different sets. Say 1 is in 1 6 and 2 is in 2 3. Now I need to combine 1 6 and 2 3. So 1 6 2 3 becomes a single set. 1 6 2 3 becomes one single set, and 1 2 will be returned to the A. 1 2 is returned to A. Going to the next one, 6 and 3. When I look 6 and 3, 6 and 3 is in the same set already. So I needn't do anything. I will be skipping that and going to the next. 4 and 3. 4 is a separate set. 3 is in 1 6 2 3. So I am combining 1 6 2 3 and 4. So it becomes 1 6 2 3 4, and 4 3 will be returned into A. And going to the next, 4 and 6. 4 and 6 is in the same set itself. So I am not doing anything. I'm going to the next one, 4 and 5. So 4 and 5 are in two disjoint sets. So what need to I do? I need to combine them. So it will be 1 6 2 3 4 0 5. So everything becomes a one set, and I need to write 4 5 in the A. Okay. And the last one, 0 to 1. 0 and 1 is in the same set itself. So I needn't do anything. Okay. So that part is complete. So what is the final line of the algorithm? Return A. So the A which I got 0 5 2 3 1 6 1 2 4 3 4 5 represents the minimum spanning tree. How it represents this minimum spanning tree? You have to draw. Okay, 0 5 I have drawn. Then I am drawing 2 3. Then I am drawing 1 6 1 2 4 3 and 4 5. Okay, this is the minimum spanning tree. What is the cost? 10 plus 25 plus 22 plus 12 plus 16 plus 1, which is 19. Clear? So Ruskell's algorithm, you can directly from the graph you can draw by selecting the edges. You will be getting the final result. But for the exam, it will be asked with the help of an algorithm. You have to explain. So you will be explaining like this. You write the algorithm using disjoint set. You write the particular different disjoint, draw the disjoint sets, take the edges in the ascending order, combine the edges, and check the particular thing. It finally comes up with the solution. Let's see the basic complexity. So the disjoint set operation takes order of E times. Okay, almost all union, intersection, everything takes all of 8 times. And most of the time it is basically taken for the sorting of the edges in the ascending order. So we are having E edges, it need to sort order of E log. So the total time complexity is order of E log E. So that is the complexity of Kruskal algorithm. So summarizing the entire session, we started with the greedy approach. Okay, we started with what is a problem, what are solutions, what is a feasible solution, what is an optimal solution. Then we went to something called minimization. Then we showed that optimization having two problems, you can solve two problems of maximization and minimization. We checked maximization problem by taking knapsack example, where the robber is trying to get the maximum profit. Okay, so in knapsack problem, we took profit by weight and we added the items and finally found the profit. Then we came to something called minimization problem. In the case of minimization problem, I needed to find the minimum distance. So I had two strategies, Prim's algorithm and Kruskal's algorithm. In Prim's algorithm, I started with the least edge, added the next edge to the particular selected vertex if it is connected. Okay, the process continued and finally you got the particular minimum spanning. You find out the cost. And we wrote the basic algorithm, and through the algorithm we found out the minimum spanning tree, and that was the same result. Then we came to Kruskal's algorithm. In case of Kruskal's algorithm, we have taken the minimum edge. Even though the next minimum edge is not connected to the already selected vertex, we will be taking that also. And finally coming up with the algorithm using disjoint set. We have found, so seen the complexities. Okay, so I guess the session gave you an overview of the greedy algorithm and the strategies. So before winding up, I will just show you the various questions that have been asked in the university. So So these were the questions that was asked. So basically, the module 5 asks in part E, I guess, part E. So it was asked for a solving knapsack problem. It's this much instance, so you can directly solve. It asked for the Kruskal's algorithm and finding the time complexity. It was again asked Prim's algorithm, fractional knapsack, with an example. This is an important area, right? When you are given a question, you will be able to solve it. Okay, but at times questions ask, explain this with the help of an example. So make sure that you at least know an example to draw, and from that example how to derive. Sometimes the example problem, the figure might not be asked given in the question, so you have to draw the figure also. So make sure you know the figures also. Then it was asked for an optimal for solution for knapsack instance and Prim's. So this in the module 5, almost everything will be a straight questions. So that's about the session. I think I have covered almost all. So if you have any doubts, I will be happy to answer.
So there is one question.
Yeah.
Is it possible to apply dynamic programming for optimization problems?
Yeah, dynamic programming can also be applied, but consider the same example of knapsack. Okay, so in knapsack problem, we need to have the partial items. Right? Then what is greedy? Greedy means I need to make sure that I get the maximum at each point. So that's why the name greedy comes. So whenever it's a greedy approach, we have to make sure the items can be splitted. But in case of dynamic programming, that might not be a possible solution. But yes, optimization problems can be solved using dynamic programming.
Cyril ചോദിച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ചോദ്യമാണ്, how do
Yeah.
we define greedy approach?
Okay, greedy approach is a technique to solve optimization problem, where the basic strategy will be to select the problem which the user thinks gives the maximum profit, and add to a particular say solution set, and thinking that these local optimums finally give up to the global optimum solution. You can also, for the exam, you can also write about the control abstraction. So that will be needed. That's all will be needed.
ലേറ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ജോയിൻ ചെയ്ത് ഒന്ന് രണ്ട് പേര് റിക്വസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു ഇനിഷ്യൽ സ്ലൈഡ്സ് ഒന്നും കൂടി ഒന്ന് ബ്രീഫ് ചെയ്യുമോ?
Okay, I will just say this is one thing that you have asked. What is greedy strategy? So it's a thing to solve the optimization problems, and how we will be taking a particular solution, thinking that that is the best solution, and that process continues and finally gets. So this is the control abstraction. So this is the solution to the problem. So initially we think that it is zero, and to that particular solution we take each one item and check whether it is feasible. If it is a feasible solution, we add to the solution set. Earlier it was zero. Adding one, which we get to the final global optimal solution, and we'll be returning the solution. This is a control abstraction. And then comes the knapsack problem, where we are using, we have three objects in which way we can get the maximum profit. So maximum profit will be got when we take profit by weight strategy. So if we take in the decreasing order of profit or lowest weight first, you will be getting the profit 28.2 and 31. So the mathematical session, I think I can share the slide, you can go through. And but anyway, the maximum profit will be got only in profit by weight. So that is the method, and that is how the knapsack problem. So this was the initial part, and then we came to the minimization.
Peenade question under. So could you explain the difference between dynamic programming and greedy strategy? Which one is better, dynamic or greedy? Yes, sir.
So there is nothing called a better strategy. It's all depends upon the problem. Okay, if I am having a basic problem, it is our logic to think that which strategy applies well. Sometimes for a particular strategy, dynamic algorithm will be the one which is solving it in the minimum time and space. So for the same thing, if we apply greedy, it may not work. So it depends upon the problem that we are taking. It will be greedy or dynamic. So what is dynamic means it's a recursive calls, and we will be using recurrence relations to solve. So here it is directly from trial and not by trial and error, but directly by checking all the possible manners, we will be finding out the final solution. So we cannot say that a greedy method is better, or we cannot say that dynamic programming is better. It depends upon the solution, depends upon the problem that we are solving. We will be choosing which one is better. And this is actually a research problem. To which problem, which strategy is basically used.
Great question, Anna. What is the subset paradigm in greedy method?
Subset paradigm. Okay. I told you, whenever we are having a greedy method, I will be taking local optimum solutions first. Okay. These local optimum solutions are combined together in order to form the final global feasible solution. So this subset paradigm means that local optimum solution that we are taking is considered as the subsets, and finally the subset is being merged in order to form the final.
Alan has requested, please explain knapsack again. One more question related to that, sir. What about 0x1 knapsack?
Yeah, I will tell. Okay, both.
Whether you can connect.
Yeah, sure. I will tell both. So consider this is a knapsack problem. So I'm having three objects with the profit and weight mentioned. Okay. So I need to find out which items should I take so that I get the maximum profit. Okay. So I can have different methods. First one, I am taking in the decreasing order of profit, which means I think that the item which is having the highest profit will be taken first. So I'll be taking item X1 first because that's having the maximum profit 20. Okay, the weight is 18. So the back weight was total 20. So 18 is gone, only 2 is remaining. So for the remaining 2, I will be taking the next item with the maximum profit, that is X2. So 24 is taken, but I cannot take entire X2 because the entire X2 weighs 15. I have only balance of 2. So I will be taking 2 by 5. So, and I am taking and calculating the profit. So this is the decreasing order of profit. Similarly, I am checking going for lowest weight first. So I think when the lowest weight first, I will be taking the item which is having the lowest weight. Lowest weight is for X3 first. So it is 10, the remaining is 10. So I will be taking X2 which is having 15, but I cannot take the entire 15 because only 10 is remaining. So I will be taking 10 by 15. Now I am calculating the profit. So now the profit is increased from 28.2 to 30. So I am having one more approach, decreasing order of profit by weight. For all X1, X2 and X3, I will be taking how much does a single unit give the profit. So X2 gives the maximum. So I will be selecting X2 first. So when I select X2, the remaining space is 5. Okay, so for the remaining 5, which one I will select? I will select X3 because that is having the maximum profit by weight. How much? 5 by 10. So how much is the profit? 31.5. So this is the approach by which we take knapsack problem. So this is how knapsack problem works. So always we are selecting in the decreasing order of profit by weight. Okay, and coming to 0-1 knapsack, here we are taking a fraction of a item, right? Consider that these X1, X2, X3 are vegetables. Okay, I had a say 10 kg of tomato. So my bag only gives me space for 2. So I cut the tomato and I take the 2. Okay, that's how the fractional knapsack comes. 0-1 knapsack is either you take the item or you drop the item. You cannot take the partial weight. So if it is a TV, you cannot take the partial of the TV, right? So either you take or either you don't take. So that's how 0-1 knapsack problem works. So that is the difference between 0-1 and fraction. 0-1 means either you take the item or you leave the item. Fractional means you can take the item in a fractional manner. So that's the difference between fractional knapsack and 0-1.
The number of spanning tree are slide. Kindly repeat how we got the number of cycles as 2 in the example.
Okay. Okay, this is the spanning tree, right? So the basic equation was EC V minus 1. E is the number of edges, V minus 1 is the vertex minus 1, and number of cycles. So you can see 1, 4, 2. That is a loop, right? So that is the first cycle. And what is it connecting 2, 4, 3? The lower triangle. That is also a loop. So that is also a cycle. So that's how we got number of cycles as 2. So E is edges. How many edges? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 edges. Number of vertices is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. So 5C3 minus 2. Number of cycles is 2 because the upper triangle 1, 4, 2 is a loop and the lower triangle 4, 2, 3 is a loop. So that's how we got the number of cycles as 2.
What are the applications of greedy algorithm?
Yeah, for greedy algorithm, it is basically used for any sort of minimization or maximization. So let it be the same examples that we have told for the finding the minimum cost of a particular cabling work, or for finding the maximum profit that I can make. For example, in say real life application, if I am throwing a ball at a speed of say 60 kilometers per hour, when the bat is shown in an angle of 30 degree to the ground, what is the maximum distance that the ball can go? So all these type of visualization can be basically taken care of.
So may you please explain 0 by 1?
0 by 1 is yeah 0 by 1. Yeah, 0 by 1 knapsack is not included with the greedy strategy. Okay, so today I was discussing about the greedy strategy. So the 0-1 knapsack, I will just explain. 0-1 knapsack means you will be either taking the content fully. For example, if my bag size is 10, so I have taken the first item. So first item was having 2 only weight. So I am having a remaining item of 8 spaces vacant. I'm going to check which is the next item with the maximum weight. So if the weight next item is 9, you cannot take that because my bag size is only 8, which means that you can either take the item fully or not take. So that is how 0-1 knapsack works. So 0-1 knapsack comes in your 6th module and that will be covered in the next session.
Okay, so നമ്മുടെ session conclude ചെയ്യുകയാണ്.
Okay.
So rest of the questions will be sent to you so that you can answer.
Yeah, sure.
And also there was indeed a great session, so I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to answer for today's session. And I truly appreciate you and your time you have spent to associate with ASAP for the online class. And I thank all the attendees for being patient listeners. The Q&A will be sent to sir and the class will be uploaded in our YouTube channel, that is ASAP Kerala Official. Expecting your active participation in our live webinars too. Once again, I thank you all. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you.